Good afternoon. Now, as Nicolas was speaking, I was just scoring out a few lines in my closing remarks, as I have actually very little time, but I'd like to mention a few points. First of all, I'd like to talk to you about Cedre. In 1979, Cedre was founded just after the Amoco Cadiz spill. Our fundamental mission and our initial mission was to respond to oil spills. That's because we came into being just after the Amoco Cadiz. Over the years, we became interested in inland water pollution, and we have more recently introduced a litter and microplastic element to our competences. Incidents involving oil tankers are marked by the Erika and the Prestige incidents. These led to packages of regulatory measures which led to new measures relating to training and relating to ship design. The fines imposed for incidents at sea were also increased, and so this has decreased the number of incidents by tankers. There have been fewer oil tanker incidents. However, we've seen an increase in incidents involving other types of vessels, in particular in relation to the increase in maritime shipping. Today we've been focusing on containers. Shipping containers and containers themselves are of a particular interest to us here at Cedre, and that is why we chose to take this as our focus for today in order to outline the context. Mr. Garot from Maclean's quoted 130 million containers transported worldwide, and 3 years later we were at 226 million containers transported a year, so more than doubled, almost doubled in this short period of time. The question of the increasing size of vessels has been mentioned several times today. Currently, we can find 24,000 containers on board a single platform, transporting all sorts of things that you and I consume, going from trainers to televisions to whatever, what have you. Today we heard mentioned 13,000 tons of fuel. So, I remember an incident in which an equivalent quantity of fuel was released offshore. On board a vessel like that, we have a crew of about 25, so it's very few people on such a large vessel. So, today we have mentioned various risks. There are two that are particularly important to me that have come up a few times. The fire risk, which is considered the major risk for insurers, and the second is the loss of containers overboard. points that have stood out to me are the importance throughout the chain for all the links in the chain is to have better knowledge of the goods that are transported. As was said earlier, the important thing to do when an incident occurs is to study the bill of lading. It's important, essential, that within the first few hours following the incident, we are familiar with all the products that are on board. Other important elements, the changes to regulations were mentioned. That's an important point. The packing and loading and securing of containers is also an essential factor. And firefighting equipment and capacities on board. These elements should not be a reaction after an incident, but we need to be in a preparatory phase. So we need to ensure that the containers are packed appropriately, loaded appropriately, secured. The crew of a 400-meter long container must be ready. And so information on containers that are lost must be provided as quickly as possible about the containers that have been lost, where they've been lost, in order to be able to recover them as quickly as possible to prevent further incidents. So, very briefly, following this day where we have all been involved virtually behind our screens, I encourage you to continue our discussions either by email or hopefully soon being able to meet up physically. I encourage you to continue to develop knowledge in this field. A few final words. Today, many different stakeholders involved in the chain of maritime container shipping have been able to discuss this issue. So whether it be public or private, from the ports to state actors, they have been able to discuss their actions and their concerns. Now, we've been used to virtual conferences for nearly a year now. It's not the same, of course, as coming together. So I hope we will be able to welcome you to Brest. Here in Brest, it's dry and sunny, so we would have liked to be able to welcome you here. Finally, I would like to thank all our speakers, first of all, for agreeing to take part in what was possibly quite a difficult exercise. I would also like to thank our organizers here at Cedre, as well as the interpreters. In addition to what Nicolas said, the presentations will be available on our website within a few weeks. I encourage you to visit our website, which is a goldmine of information about containers, but also other forms of pollution. And if you have any other ideas or would like to discuss any ideas, we are at your disposal. So thank you very much and goodbye.